It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of March 1st, 2002. Two films to look at today, so let's go ahead and take a look at them. Let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Mel Gibson in the war drama, We Were Soldiers. You know, I'm starting to think Randall Wallace was kind of a one-trick pony with Braveheart, because everything he's done since then has either not been that good, or has just been lackluster in particular, and this is one of those films that's definitely that. It's a telling of the 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry Regiment, 1st Cavalry Division's battle against overwhelming odds in the La Drang Valley of Vietnam in 1965. Seen through the eyes of the battalion's commander, played by Mel Gibson, we see him take command of the battalion and its preparations to go into Vietnam. We also see how the French had years earlier been defeated in the same area. The battle was the first major engagement between the U.S. and the NVA forces in South Vietnam, and showed the use of helicopters as mobility providers and assault support aircrafts. Yeah, this movie's not that great. I mean, it's got a really strong cast in it. I mean, Gibson, Madeline Stowe, Greg Kinnear, Sam Elliott, Chris Klein, Kerry Russell, Barry Pepper. I mean, a good solid cast overall, and a writer who won an Oscar for writing Braveheart. But like I said, this is one of those movies where you really look at it and think that, yeah, this was definitely a one-trick pony for this guy, because everything he's done since then has either not been great or has been kind of a letdown, and this is one of those ones that it's definitely very much a letdown of a movie, because, you know, we had movies like Heart's War, and then also we had another one, Behind Enemy Lines. We had all these movies coming out, war movies, that I guess we're trying to copy the success of Pearl Harbor, because Pearl Harbor was a success when it came out, despite the fact that it's a terrible movie. But Black Hawk Down was probably the best overall war movie we got around this time, and this, it's just a boring movie, man. Mel Gibson shows he's got range as an actor, but man, watching this for over 2.5 hours really drains on you pretty quickly, and if there isn't an interesting story to watch with this, then why am I even watching the film to begin with? And there's definitely not a story here that's enough to carry the weight of the film overall. It's based off of a book of the same name, which I've never read before, so I can't really say what the differences are, but supposedly there are a lot of differences according to what I see here through Wikipedia. But other than that, though, yeah, the movie just really doesn't work as well as I think it wants to. I mean, Black Hawk Down, I think, made this work the best out of all the war movies we're getting around this time period, but this was just laying it on way too thick, and it really hurts in the long run when it's all said and done. So that's We Were Soldiers. So let's go ahead and take a look at the last one we have here, and that is Josh Hartnett in the comedy 40 Days and 40 Nights. So obviously you could figure out what the premise of this movie is right from that, but basically Josh Hartnett is playing a San Francisco web designer who has chosen to abstain from any sexual contact for the duration of Lent. Of course, Lent being the event where you take the 40 days and do something that you usually do and just not do it. And so for Josh Hartnett, it's basically no sexual contact, no masturbation, no kissing, nothing. And this could have made for an interesting movie. It's got a good director behind it, Michael Lehman, who directed Heathers, and he did some pretty underrated films, Airheads, The Truth About Cats and Dogs. But yeah, this movie really gets uncomfortable at times, and even with the people behind Bridget Jones's Diary to give it that classier look to it, like, you know, the working title films, when you see their names, like Notting Hill, Bridget Jones's Diary, Love Actually, you think that, but yeah, even if you put those in there, this is still kind of a concept that should be pretty easy to put together. It gets really iffy, and I mean extremely iffy, especially towards the end, which we'll get to in just a second. But from the beginning, it starts off kind of interesting. It starts off kind of amusing and fun, but then as the movie goes on, it's basically it just gets uncomfortable, especially when he gets to the last day and his ex-girlfriend basically just rapes him in order for him to just not be able to go through the 40 days of Lent thing. It's just like, dude, it's just like there's going dark, and then there's just being unnecessarily dark. And I know this guy did Heathers, but Heathers was at least clever with its dark comedy. This just feels like they had to do it because he can't go for all 40 days, because then it wouldn't be interesting to the story. And whoever says that is completely true, but I mean, it's hard to make date rape funny. I mean, we've had movies that try to do this. I mean, Observer Report's one of the big examples of that, but when you get down to it, nothing about rape is funny. I mean, no matter how hard you try to make it funny, it's just not going to work out unless you have a solid purpose for making it funny. And this movie sadly does not. It really just, it takes any of the fun and the excitement about this movie and just throws it out the window pretty quickly. And this is a movie that's not that long. It's only about an hour and a half long, but even by then, when that moment happens, it just feels like you're just so uncomfortable with how they present this. And you figure, why does Josh Hartnett hang around with these people anyway? Like it's one of those moments where you look at it just like, why did you have these friends with you that would be this so like, it gets unnerving, and it ruins a lot of the ebb and flow of the movie, it ruins a lot of the fun factors of the movie, but it just gets really old really, really quickly, and it ends up not being funny. It ends up going the same, romantic comedy tropes we've seen done over and over again, and has to throw that dark level of comedy, which could be fine if it was written if they had better material to work with here, but in this movie, it's just kind of like, no, we're just throwing it in there because we have to do it. This is the guy that directed Heathers, and unfortunately, he's not the writer on this movie. So, yeah, I don't know. To me personally, it just didn't work out for me. It got really uncomfortable by the end of it, and just ruined kind of what I was liking about the movie from the beginning. Which the movie does start off strong, but once it gets to that point where it gets to those moments where they're just forcing any way for this guy to not have the thing is to have him break his code that he's been working on throughout the course of the movie, that's when it just really starts to lose me right from the get-go. And it's just not a fun movie when it's all said and done. It's a real letdown when you think about it on a number of different levels. So, yeah, kind of avoid this one like the plague. Starts off strong, but just dips down in quality pretty quickly. So that is 40 Days and 40 Nights. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. When we meet next time, we'll take a look at the live-action version of The Time Machine. I say live-action version because it's directed by a guy who's mostly known for his animation work, Simon Wells, and features Guy Pearce and Orlando Jones. And did it work? We'll delve into that next time. And we have another pairing of Ice Cube and Mike Epps with All About the Benjamins. So 2 films we'll look at next time. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. And don't go too far away, because coming up after I post this episode, on Time About the Movies Flashback, we're taking a look at the 2 big sequels that kicked off the summer 1988 movie season, Memorial Day weekend, Crocodile Dundee 2, and Sylvester Stallone and Rambo 3. So we'll take a look at both of those movies on Time About the Movies Flashback, which will be coming up right after this.